let's start all over. Man.
You're putting those
I'm sorry, hold on one second. Someone asked a question. Did I answer it?
about doing the auto.
Auto, right. Hold on. Okay, so let's look at this. Before, after. You see her hair looks a little more brown, and you could see some of the blue in the background. All right, let's turn that off. Let's try the, for the levels, let's try doing auto. So, levels, where are you? Okay, and we can click auto. All right, so here's the auto, and here's the unauto. It's not the easiest to tell on screen. Sorry. So that's me. No, that's the computer, and this is me. And looking on screen, I can tell you that the computer version is more red, more unnaturally red. I mean, if she was red, like red hair, that kind of thing, that'd be fine. But she's not. I think mine is closer, although mine looks kind of cool, kind of blue. What am I saying? Okay, so let's try the next step, the next technique, and that's called the saturation. We want to work on the saturation of the color. So,
Before you do that,
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
that when you have that mountain, as you call it, I forget what's the word.
Histogram.
How do you know how far in to put your...
I go to the edge. I just go to the right where the mountain falls off. We have to, I'm sorry to do this to you, but that is not for this class. I'm kind of touching it. I really have so much I want to get into. But let's go to hue and saturation now. Now this is interesting because you have a little slider here called saturation. And I'll zoom in right here. And by the way, this is more like an intermediate type class, so I apologize for those of you who are just getting into this thing. It is a little deep. So I'll move that slider all the way to the plus side. It's okay, I'm getting some color. Now that's all of the saturation. Now I could go into the different channels and choose different colors. So I could skip the red, I could go into the cyans or the blues, see if that does anything. Not really. Magentas. Let's do this. Let's do a combination of hue, saturation, and levels. Now we'll do our levels. Now this will help answer your question again. Excuse me, I go right past that line, because that line, that flat line at the bottom that you see, that's just the white from the border. All right, now I'm going to go to the green. All right, now I go to the blue. We did this before, but I'm just going through it again. Now let's go to our hue and saturation layer. And I will reset it. So I know I'm starting from scratch. Now let's pull the saturation slider over. That is not bad. That is not bad. So that's just with levels. That's adding the hue and saturation. Now it's kind of heavy on the yellow. So what I can do is go into yellows and pull out from there, go into the minus side, and add a little lightness to compensate for losing that channel. So here we have before and after. The color is pretty good. I think I got another 10 years, 20 years back of faded color doing this. Now, we could say leave it alone, like I said before, but maybe not. Let's try to help this a little bit more. Now, you see all the holes, the dust and the scratches? I like to fix that first before I go into the color and start dealing with the color. But for today, I don't want to deal with that because that'll take a lot of time. I want to go right into dealing with the color. So this is where we get into the complex color restoration. And I need to I need to pull this layer palette out. My screen, my real estate on the screen here is very limited. But we like the hue and saturation. We like the levels. Let's duplicate the background layer. Try that again. And now we have a copy of what's underneath. So I can do whatever changes I want, and I can go back and forth, turn it off and on to look at my progress. I'll grab the paintbrush tool. Now, depending on your version of Photoshop, it's there. They all have it. This one, let me change how that looks, is right up here. And then I get a nice big fat brush. I actually want to work on her lips. Because a lot of times when the pictures of people, you can really make the picture look newer. It's especially a faded picture. You can make it look more new by helping the lips, helping the eyes and the blush, the cheeks. Because these are places where people look alive. When people are dead or sick, their lips tend to go pale. I'm zooming in just so we can work a little more efficiently. And I'll go up here into the mode of my paintbrush in the options bar. And Photoshop version 6 and up, going way back. Way back, what am I talking about? Has it in the options bar. Older versions have it in the palette, but I think most of us aren't even dealing with that. So now I choose a color. Over here in my color palette, I'm going to get something that's dignified. I don't think I want to give her hot pink lipstick, but I can get something kind of dark. All right.
What mode did you choose?
I chose color mode. All right. Now I'll bring my opacity down right over here. This is so it's not just straight red. It's not real heavy. I want to go and paint carefully. Yeah, it's still too much. And I have to turn off my, I have something in here called brush presets. And I want to, for me personally, in this type of work, I'm going to turn off any settings that change my brush size according to the pressure of the click. Now I am using a tablet, I'm not using a mouse. And the reason why is because I don't want to have any carpal tunnel syndrome. I like my wrists, and I don't like the pain that comes with clicking all day on a mouse. I'm glad I survived that without surgery. So here I go. All right. That's all right. But let's just go to before and after. Let's just compare before, after. It's a little strong, almost a little fake. But if you look, it helps. Now I will go, let me undo that. And let me go a little lighter. Let me go at 3%. Subtlety. Okay? And I don't have to get in the shadow areas, really. I could just go up here. I don't have to go, what I mean is, see where the lips close? I don't need to paint in there. I need to paint where the lips stick out, where light hits the lips. So let's look at her. Before, after. Okay, now, that was 3% opacity. You see, it's subtleties. It's subtleties. You have to experiment as you go. And every picture will be different. So here's how we started off way in the beginning, and here's how we are now. All right. Now let's work a little bit more on the blush, but let's go to our mask. Let's build a mask. Yes, ma'am.
Could you just tell me what the RGB was on that color you chose?
What the RGB was?
Yeah, I know what about. Yeah, on the color you chose for the lips.
Oh, 117, 14, 40.
Thank you.
Right here. She wants to know the numbers. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. I was thinking you were going to have to teach me something there for a minute. All right, so let's blush the cheeks a little bit. I was talking about building a mask. All right, I prefer in Photoshop to use what's called the quick mask tool, and it's just go right into it by hitting the Q key on my keyboard, and I take my paintbrush tool and I make the opacity 100%. What ends up happening is I end up painting a ruby lift type color. Now, those of you who did anything in graphic, or anybody here work in the graphic arts industry before desktop publishing? So yeah, so you know about masking and ruby lift and all that. Yeah, well, it follows a lot of the same terminology. And then I reverse the color. Because when you do a quick mask, it's either black or white. And I'll show you exactly how it looks. It's pretty interesting. I will tell you, this is an advanced technique. But this is how it literally looks to the computer. It's just black or white. But Photoshop is helping translate it for us, making it easy for us to see by saying, okay, your mask is actually bright red. I could change it to bright green, purple, whatever color. Now, I get out of quick mask mode. I hit the Q key. Now, in Elements, you don't have quick mask, but you have lasso. You have a lasso tool. The lasso tool, you do the same thing, except instead of a brush, you're going like this. Let me do something real quick. Don't look at what I'm doing because it will confuse you. You will die. Okay. Now in Photoshop Elements, or if I just like using the lasso tool, which is right over here, I will take my I will make a selection right here on the cheeks, and then I'll hold the Shift key down and make another one. Then I go to select feather. Who here worked in a dark room? Whoever worked here in a dark room? You know when you were feathering, you burn and dodge. So to feather, you would have your dodge tool and you would move the dodge tool to create a feathering. But if you wanted a nice sharp indentation, exposure, you would leave it there. And you would see your hand or you would see your dodge tool. Okay, this is a similar principle. Okay, so I made the radius feather 15, which is, I think that's pretty good. So that's one way to do it. I prefer the quick mask in Photoshop. And that's what we're going to start with now. So let's do the blush. Now I did the mask. I'll jump into a couple ways to do it actually. Levels is kind of fun actually. So I'll go into levels. I'll make a new adjustment layer. Now because I made a new adjustment layer from here, it gave me a mask. And I will zoom in. You'll see it right there. See those two dots? Those are her cheeks. Now for you beginners, this is over your head. That's why I call this complex color restoration. Okay? But I want those of you who, how many of you in here are following exactly what I'm doing? There's a couple. All right? It's like 30%. I said I'm doing something for everybody here. So now I'm in my levels. I'll change channels right here. I want to go to red. And I'll move my mid-tone slider, which is a gray triangle. And I want to move it to the left. Oh gosh, my selection reversed. I have this setting. Sorry. Let me just back up a couple steps here. Let me back up a couple steps. Okay. Invert that. And come on, Eric. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. Here we go. We're going into our levels adjustment layer. I go to my red, and I move this mid-tone slider to the right. Now, as you see what's happening, it's turning green. I don't want green blush. I kind of want red, pinkish. She's a light-skinned woman. She's a little blush. I could go like this. That's too much. It's hard to tell on screen, but look how subtle that is, how it helps. Now, I could spread it a little bit with the paintbrush tool because I have this mask. So I go to 50% opacity. Because I'm now in quick mask, I go to black. And I help under her eyes. Because sometimes people are a little actually flush under the eyes, like the bag area. I'm sorry, it should be white, not black. And I help give her a little more color. Okay? All right. So let's look at before, after. Zoom in a little bit more so you can see before, after. Much more control. And you put a little bit on the nostril because blood circulates there. And a little bit here at the tip of the chin. And definitely up near the forehead. There's a lot of blood capillaries around there. Yeah. Now, here's something a little interesting that I wanted to talk about is, it's hard to see. So let me fudge it for you here so you can see what I see. In here, I know I can see it, but there's a green cast, greenish spots. Just raise your hand if you see it. Yeah. Okay. Good. So what I'm going to do is we want to get rid of that because her hair. I know her hair wasn't green when it was photographed. I need to get rid of that. So out of all of the techniques I showed you, raise your hand with your suggestion of how I might be able to get rid of the green in her hair. Or maybe not use one of my techniques. What do you think? I'm pushing you now. I'm going to make someone say something. I will not spoon feed this one to you. What do you think? Her hair has some green in it, right? Her hair.
Lasso it and take it out. Maybe put
saturation.
Yeah, we can make a mask with the lasso selection. We can go into saturation and maybe pull out the green if there's a way to do that. Let's see if there is. All right. So let's try that. So I take my lasso and I'm doing a selection around this. I should actually do her whole hair. So let's zoom out. Now, when I'm in my home office, I got 2 monitors, okay? So I got one monitor to work on and one monitor for all my palettes. This is really tough for me. I want to go home. This is rough. It's okay. It's just we're all learning here. Okay, now I need to soften that edge because what's going to happen if I change the color? Look at the mask. See how hard the edges are? So when I change that, it's all going to be affected just like that. So we want to soften the edges. Feather, where? Okay. Come on. All right, so let's try, I actually want to try 8. Then I'll go to quick mask just to see. Yeah, I like how that falls. All right, now we said we're going to go into hue and saturation. Let's try that. Let's look for a green. There's a green right here. You see that? So I'm going to go to that green channel and go over here to saturation. Now pull that to the left. Let's see what happens. Gone. Now I want to show you. Okay, the key, sorry. Okay, see that? Right here. It looks like static, almost.
What makes a good scan?
What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly.
It's gone. It's gone. I mean, her hair looks brown. And I want to let y'all know how subjective this is. I wouldn't have done it the way he suggested. I would have made a quick mask and probably, I don't know. But I wasn't thinking what he was thinking. But I like what he said. It really worked well. You see? So that's one way to approach it. Any questions about what I've been doing? What's that?
How would you have done it?
Well, I have to rewind what I was thinking. But I would have done a quick mask first, and then I think I would have gone into levels or curves in the green channel. I would have worked in the green channel in the midtones. Or I would have just taken actually, you know what I was first thinking? Seriously, this is what I was first thinking. I'm not making it up. Is let's put this back on. Okay, so she's green haired now. All right. I was going to take the paintbrush tool, 100%, change the mode to color. This is what we did with her lips. We went to color mode. And then I would hold down the Alt Option key on my keyboard, and that would turn my pointer into an eyedropper. And I would click, and it would sample that kind of brownish gray color. Now you look at my color palette, it's got that color of her hair. And then I would have just painted it like that. No. Woo, boy. Let's try that again. Sample it right here. Then turn these layers back on. Put the right layers back on here so you guys can see. I have a fudge layer on to really brighten it up so you can see it on screen, but I would never use it the way I'm doing it. And then I paint. It's okay, but look at that green though. Look at that. I mean, that's totally messed up. You're the winner. Would you please finish this for me? I can write you a check for the rest of my stipend. But you know, after that doesn't work, I would see it as that doesn't work. You know. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Yes, sir.
The paintbrush, though, wouldn't you get the texture of the hair by sampling, taking the bangs on the front then, and
yeah,
don't you get more of the texture?
Yeah, but it's more work. Your way was faster. Your way was more efficient. Look, you're telling me, okay, you messed up a little bit, you know. Hold on, let me get this up. So I'll undo. So I paint the part that was okay here, right? I got to turn these layers off in order to sample it right. Choose down there by her bangs or her ponytail. I don't know what you call that. Flip. And I go down here. Yeah, that's something. You know, we're working real fast and we're working kind of backwards. Like I said, the best thing to do is fix the picture up and then go forward. We have some time, so I want to jump into the other picture. Any more questions about this one? You know, eye color is the same way too, by the way. If you need to help the eye color, if she had blue eyes or green eyes and you couldn't see the blue, just do the paint the paintbrush tool thing again with the color mode. Yes, ma'am.
Can you remove the scratches and the dirt from the background? Or?
Yeah, I can, but I'm not doing that here.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
this
that
is
would-
just
that
the
would be
color.
another step that you would.
I would do that first.
Right.
Yeah, I would do that. In fact, this background is in such bad shape, I would just make a new background. Now, I had mentioned the path tool. We'll get into that for the next one. Anything else about this picture? Okay, good. 5:30, so 5:06. We're okay. Okay, 5:35. All right. And this is an interesting shot. Can you see it? No. Okay. Let's go and get to our scanner. Any other questions while I'm scanning stuff? You dizzy already?
Do you always retain the original?
What do you mean? Do I retain the original? What do you mean?
You don't save it. You save it your new copy, and you save the old scan.
Okay. So I first scan it, right? Yeah. So basically, in my workflow, in my course, I give an entire workflow for you. But basically, it's this: save your original, scan, and then when you start working on it, save it as a working copy. So I like to make, so if it says, 2011-0908, I do a dash ORI for original. And then when I start working on it, I save it as the same name, but instead of dash original, it'll have dash R1 or V1, revision 1 or version 1.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because you might want to go back to that original scan. All right. So let me, I want to make this a little bigger, so I will actually increase the scale a little bit. I'd like to get a little more detail, and I will have to crop it in Photoshop. Any other questions? Great. Red eye. You can use the same thing I was doing to apply to red eye. So you select the eye, go to hue and saturation and pull out the red or whatever or desaturate it completely, or to the level that it looks acceptable, or use the paintbrush tool, making black your color in color mode, and you get rid of the red eye. Okay. All right, so let's fix this one. It's a little crooked, and I'll adjust my boundaries here. I was using the crop tool in Photoshop. Yeah, just stretch it out here, stretch it out there, to get it to an acceptable level. Now, as you can see, this one has lost a lot of color, and it had a shot against it because it was underexposed. What I mean by that, if you look at the man in this shirt and this red thing back here, and the sky has good exposure, but everyone here is dark. They're in the darkness. So let's apply the levels adjustment. We'll go into the red, green, and blue. And it's looking better. All right. And what I like about this now is I'm going to actually throw another adjustment on there. Don't do that. I closed my layers palette. Excuse me. Layers. There you are. Let me do a curve to just brighten it up for you to see out there. Okay, so before, after. Before, after. Get this over here. I mean, look at the color in them. Look at her shirt, little boy here. This ride or whatever it is back here. It's so washed out before. Okay? Now, let's throw a hue and saturation layer on there and increase the saturation overall. Now that's extreme. This will make a decent print. Where are the layers? There you are. So here we are. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close this in here. Okay, good. So here's before. And look, we helped the color. All right. Now, as far as them being faded out here, we have to work on that, because if you notice, this part is it's got detail, but out here is washed out. All right, so we got to try to bring this from whatever 2 stops of overexposure down to this level of exposure. A couple ways to do it. And I actually didn't put this in there because it didn't apply, but this one is so unique because it's overexposed around the corners. Okay? We'll duplicate the background copy again, this layer. And now what I'll do is change the blending mode for the layer to multiply. And what it does is it darkens it. Now, that's nice. The sides are better, but the middle's gone. It's all mud. How do we fix that? Well, in Elements, we'd have to make a selection with the lasso tool and feather it and delete. Or we can use a mask, like with quick mask. Let's do something a little easy for people who are just using Elements or really don't want to get into masking. So what we do is we estimate where the good exposure is, and we go right to the edge of it. We're guessing. But I think, let me hold down the shift key, I add a little bit to that selection. I think this area here is pretty good. Now, Eric, what are you doing? Oh, I zoomed in this way. Okay. Go to Select, Feather. We're going to make the edge really soft. Because if you look at the area between the good exposure and the overexposure, there's a spread. There's no line showing that. At my booth, I have a sample of a photo up there, and it looks like someone stuck a cup on the picture. So you see this round area that's dark right over the person's face. That's a harsh line there. So let's do something. Let's try 20 pixel radius. I might be overdoing it. Go to quick. Yeah, I'm not overdoing it. It's a big image. I scanned it in bigger. So I am going to say, let's go to 80. Now, the radius of your feather is relative to the size of the image. So if the image is very small, you can't make a big feather. You'll lose your selection. It's still not enough. I need to do more. I really want that edge. I'll add another 80. That's about, I think that'll do it. So now I turn this layer on. A real crude way to do it, and I hope this works when I show you, is to hit the delete key. Okay? Now it's crude, like I said. Let me hide that. Okay? So, before, after. What do you think? All right? Now, Elements, I cannot remember which version, but it may not let you do that multiply mode. But you can darken it using levels. You can darken the layer and apply something similar. So any questions about this that I just did? This, if you want to ask, well, what step did you just do? Or it's okay. because we're just about at the end, and I really want to make sure that you're not completely overwhelmed and you go home with a headache. Yes, in the back.
So you have a dark picture similar to this one, except it's just black and white. Can you still gain elements out of it, or is it just...
Yeah. If your dark picture, your black and white picture is just dark, as opposed to really light, it'd be the other way around. You'd be lightening it. So let's just say this is a let's say this is a dark image, which it is not. But let's just say it is. Let me make a new version of it. History. Let me make a new duplicate state. Okay, flatten that. Okay, so let's just say this is light. I will duplicate the background layer. Instead of multiply, let's say it's dark. Instead of multiply, I choose screen. See it brighten it up. Okay? That's the opposite of multiply. And you could probably get away with something in levels as well. This what you're looking at is what I consider, a complex or advanced type of color restoration. And I do touch on it in my course, but as long as you have the essentials, you know how to use levels, you understand hue and saturation, you understand image size, resolution, layers, you understand how to restore damage using the clone stamp tool, healing brush, these types of things. All of this starts to fall into place. But if you don't have the essentials and you lack getting around, it's just another tip that you might remember to use. And if you do, you hope it works. Okay, because all of what I'm doing applies to principles of light, of your image, of the information in the image. Anything else? Any questions about what I just did, or maybe something I didn't do? Yes?
I didn't get which order the multiply went in. I listened, but I didn't write it down, so when do we multiply?
Yes. I would say, okay, so if you were multiplying this, you would multiply right away. Especially after you get the color. It would be hard to do it with that color faded. You say, oh, I got the color great, but the detail was great in the middle, but it was bad on the side. That's when you do it.
Okay.
That's when you do it. Yes?
It's a comment more than,
Okay.
and relates to the question about black and white.
Yes.
I've been scanning in Civil War letters, correspondence.
Oh, okay.
I use color.
Yes.
So again, I have more workability with the image that
Yes.
I've got, rather than scanning it in, pretending it's black and white, because it's not.
I'm glad you brought that up. You're scanning even old letters, all right? They don't have photos in them. They don't have crayon, and you're scanning them in color. And one reason why I think that's good is if you did need to restore or make it look like new again, it'll be easier for you to clean it up, because maybe some stains are just in the blue channel or the red channel. And once you can isolate that, it's the sky's the limit. You don't need clone stamp tool. You don't need to sit there and click all night. It's just a matter of going in and changing something in the channels. Quick, just like that. There's another really advanced technique that I can't share with you, because it's just you guys that used to be throwing chairs at me. But it's called LAB mode. So there's RGB, there's grayscale, there's CMYK, and there's LAB, which is based on luminescence and then two hues of color, A and B. And what's nice about LAB mode is you can isolate detail from color. It's seamless. It's the A and the B is simply color. There's no detail in it. All it is smudges. And luminosity is all by itself. And when you can even work in that, oh wow. But anyways,